Welcome to Three Films and a Podcast, the show where destiny brought together three friends to enhance each other's cinematic journey by watching three new movies in a series of themed rounds. There is no claim of ownership on any film footage used in this episode, as all film footage is owned in its entirety by the copyright holders. And just like every car in Too Fast, Too Furious, this podcast contains spoilers. Enjoy! Hello, everybody, and welcome to Three Films and a Podcast. My name is Ben Lawhorn. I am joined, as always, by two of my absolute favorite people, Tyler Beck and Matt Weiler. What's up, guys?
Hey, Ben.
Hello.
I'm glad you're both here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Too.
And I'm glad you guys are here joining us.
First time, long time.
First time, long time. Yeah. Big fan. Yeah, for those of you who are joining us, thank you for being here. Welcome to the movie club. For those of you returning, welcome back. Stoked to have everyone here. If you like what you're hearing, feel free to share this with all your friends and family and everybody. We are Three Films in a Pod. Wherever we're at Three Films in a Pod for the time being. We are a mere months away from our big change at the beginning of the year, 2024, which if this is after 2024 is going to sound really weird to you. But yeah, we're kind of rebranding everything, and just stay here and you'll be all part of the rebrand for Unsung Gems, which I'm curious if this movie would qualify. I'm sure there's something somebody would pick this for. Maybe a Ridley Scott Unsung Gem. I have no idea. But who knows? Either way, thanks for being here wherever we're at Three Films Pod. Today, we are in the middle of our Legends round, and I decided to take that as literally as possible when nominating my movie.
You sure did.
I just really did. I was also just on the Tom Cruise kick where I was like, I want my first, what I thought was going to be the first three qualifiers, our first three rounds. I'm like, I'm going to do a Tom Cruise movie for every one of them. So we did. We talked about the Mummy remake. We talked about The Color of Money, which was better than The Mummy. That's for sure. Really liked that movie actually quite a bit. And here we are wrapping it up with Legend from 1985, director Ridley Scott. I forgot he directed this until his name popped up on screen. It's like, oh shit, this is,
I know, it's wild.
Ridley Scott. That's crazy. I mean, we'll get into it, I'm sure, but yeah, blew my mind. So yeah, we have Tom Cruise here with all his original teeth, just killing it. I thought he was invested, to say the least. So he's here. We have a pre-Ferris Bueller Mia Sara here. This is her feature film.
Is it really?
Feature film debut. Yeah. She had done like an episode of All My Children or some soap opera. She only done one episode of that, and this is her thing. And then after this, the movie after this is Ferris. So it's like an interesting jump. Right? Like I thought maybe he saw her in Ferris and was like, oh, I want her in this.
Right. It's like, oh, this is her blockbuster chance with Tom Cruise, up to upstarts and Ridley Scott. That's crazy. Interesting.
But now it makes me wonder, did John Hughes watch this and he's like, I need her in my movie? Like, how does she get cast?
Well,
I'm curious, but who knows?
How do you not look at this woman and want her in your movies?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What place on her Rushmore is she, or what place on your Crushmore is she, Ben?
I mean, she might just be a 5. She's like just right outside there. I mean, the 4 is pretty locked in, but yeah, I mean, I can't deny that with that being my favorite movie, she's been this like, person on this Crushmore forever. So she's up there without a doubt. But, there's some people that are just locked in. No, I was going to say maybe she would take the early, no doubt Gwen Stefani spot, but that's
no, you can't. No.
Too precious. I can't do that.
It's too formative.
Yeah, exactly. And also an unrecognizable Tim Curry, who if I didn't see him in the credits, I wouldn't have known he was in this movie. I don't think.
Right. Once you kind of like when you honestly, it took me a while to figure out who Tim Curry was, and then we were like, oh, he's the devil. Yeah. Got it. Cool. But even then, it was like it took a minute. But once you like really, once you really know it's him, you can kind of see. You can definitely see it in there, but yeah, we'll get into that later, but he is unrecognizable. Yep.
And I feel like he was here for a different movie than everyone else in the best way, but
totally.
Yeah. The log line of the movie, a young man must stop the Lord of Darkness from destroying daylight and marrying the woman he loves. Just
Wait,
tales old as time.
we talking about Dayman?
The fighter of the night man, you know? Yeah, is Tom Cruise Dayman? Is the original Dayman, I guess.
Same energy, really.
I mean, yeah. Yes, it actually is. Yeah, okay, so let's get into this movie, which was a literal adventure movie, but also an adventure to watch. I'm curious how you guys felt about it. Matt, I'm going to throw it to you first. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the not Tom Hardy playing Twins movie legend, but the Tom Cruise 1985 movie legend.
Oh yeah, thanks.
I just want to make sure, I clarified it.
Reviewing the right one, yeah.
A little late for that.
So I was
Tom Hardy was great.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised by this. I think a part of it, and Ben, obviously, for those of you who don't know, me and Ben grew up in the same neighborhood. I grew up being very good friends with Ben's cousin, Graydon. This movie would have been something that we obsessed over had we known about it when we were 13.
For sure.
That 80s fantasy horror genre with Muppets and crazy practical effects and makeup was just like right up our alley, and like the cool synth 80s music. This hit all the ingredients of that recipe.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt disappointed watching this, that like I wasn't on this cult train 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it a ton. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I watched the trailer and like I heard some of like Tom Cruise's line deliveries. I was like, oh, this is going to be so bad. And ultimately his line delivery never really improved in the movie, but I still enjoyed it and loved it. And like, I'll talk about one of my favorite scenes in the elevator pitch, which is actually a Tom Cruise line delivery. But yeah, I mean, I saw people likening it to like the original Zelda video game.
Mm-hmm.
And this is this story is probably the closest proxy for a Zelda movie that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And so just from that standpoint alone, it's worth watching. But there's a lot to enjoy here. There's a lot that's like hard to sit through, like a lot of these 80s kids movies, but like ultimately I was a fan. And nice. I'll probably watch it again at some point, which I wasn't expecting.
So this is a kids movie? Is it like officially supposed to be a kids movie?
So what's funny about that is I remember as Ben said, we had nominated these movies very early on, like last year, basically.
Yeah.
And someone was asking like, oh, what 3 movies did you guys pick for Legends? And I was like, oh, well, these are kind of like obscure titles that maybe you haven't heard of. And like, I'm explaining them to people. And like my brother Dan's girlfriend was listening. And like, I was trying to describe this because I figured that no one had heard of the name. No one had even like seen the movie. She's like, oh wait, does that have that big giant devil in it? I was like, yes. She's like, I grew up watching that. I was like, how?
Interesting.
That's amazing.
I mean, if it was like aimed towards kids, that like kind of clears up a lot of things for me.
To me, it's like a Labyrinth adjacent movie.
Yeah. Like I'm pretty self-centered, so I just assume everything's for me. You know, I'm a middle-class white man. Like the world's built for me. So I'm like, this tone doesn't match my aesthetic. But if it was made for kids, then it's all good.
The devil, the big devil, kind of reminded me of the devil from the Tenacious D music video.
Dave Grohl.
I was like, was this their inspiration? Because like there's a lot of those horns were intense, but
yeah, they were intense.
Yeah,
they were one of the things I liked about the movie. I really liked a lot of this movie, but I loved like quite a bit less of it.
Yeah,
that makes any sense. I couldn't agree more with Matt's about Zelda. Like the whole time I was like, this is at the very least, it's really fun to feel like I'm like playing an NES game, like in an old PG, like an old, Zelda is the perfect example. And I loved the set design, like the world they were able to build, and the fact that it was all practical. I honestly can't think the digital effects. I'm sure there were some. I'm sure there were plenty. I just can't think of them because like the actual physical sets and costume and everything were so incredible, including Tim Curry's devil costume. Those horns are so dope.
So cool. I loved them.
Yeah. And even like the horns on the unicorn, like they look like you can tell they're just glued onto a horse or whatever, but like I would have assumed they would have like more wobble to them and stuff, but they looked, like they had some like what's the constitution to them or whatever, like I don't know exactly the word I'm looking for, but and I loved all the characters, like whatever those little like Brown Tom and Screwball, whatever those dudes are, dwarves or I don't know what the hell they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the goblins were super cool. I liked all the goofy little characters, like, and definitely thinking of it with a children's movie in mind, like the goblins make way more sense to me. I like them regardless, but it's like, okay, like the bumbly goofiness of them, like totally makes way more sense as a children's movie. And I liked all the color palette and the lighting and the cinematography, but like I didn't love the camera work, if that makes sense. Like they had such cool sets and lighting and costume design and choreography stuff, but then the camera just kind of felt like it was on a tripod swiveling around a lot. And I don't know, it just kind of like, I was like, I know it's difficult to move a camera around, especially at the time, especially with the equipment they were working with, but like, I don't know, man. Scorsese was able to get in there with Raging Bull with the camera. Yeah, come on, Ridley. But it just kind of seemed like lazy to me, and I was like, but they did it. They went overboard on everything else, and then the camera, there's like, yeah, put it on a stick and
we're
just
fine.
Move it around. I don't know, just kind of felt weird to me.
Sorry, quick fun fact about the camera, just super quick. I looked up. I want to see who the cinematographer was. Is a person named Alex Thompson, and fun fact, he also did Excalibur. Same cinematographer from the last movie we watched.
Oh,
which like kind of makes sense a little bit.
Wait, is this the one that had the panic attack and quit?
I think it might be.
So I guess that was like that was the camera operator. It wasn't like the cinematographer. It was the operator. But still, like, okay, interesting. Yeah, that definitely tracks. And I'm just really glad Tom Cruise's armor dress exists. Like, I don't know what that choice was.
His little cocktail dress. He's like running around.
Yes, his pretty little dress running around the forest.
I loved it.
But yeah, wasn't a fan of the tone, but again, rethinking it as a children's movie kind of helps. And like, Ben, you alluded to this earlier, but I like didn't really love Tom Cruise in this. Like, until he was doing like action-y Tom Cruise stuff, like the fight scenes and doing flips and dives and stuff, like that was pretty cool. But everything else, and I'm just like, that director's note, like he's not acting like that for any other reason other than he's being told to.
Yeah.
So like, dare I second guess one of the greats, but like Ridley, my God, like what?
Well,
what are you doing?
Like it felt like at times he was like being coached to sound more like a child. Like
totally
change the inflection in your voice to sound like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, there was
so strange.
A lot of moments, especially at the beginning, because we see him for a while before he talks. And I said out loud to my partner, I was like, oh, is this like a Tarzan story? Like, can he not speak? Like I had no idea what was going to happen here. If it was just, and like the first thing he says, his first line delivery is just good. I was like, oh my God, this is like a Tarzan story where he knows like words and that like just singular words and can't do a sentence. I was worried about it. And then, I mean, it got a little better, but it was kind of, but with Tom Cruise, though, it was interesting because I felt like we got flashes of Tom Cruise that we just saw in like Dead Reckoning Part 1. Like when he yells after somebody, like he looked exactly the same as he did in Legend. Like he has that same panic and stuff. Like when he's watching her down, below and he screams for her. It's like, oh, that's the same face he does now. Like he can tap into this the whole time, this intensity. But yeah, then there was the very soft voice, all that kind of stuff too, which is interesting.
Yeah, interesting is definitely a way to put it. Oh no, I just was like, I just couldn't imagine the notes he was getting, like, and how this, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not Ridley Scott. What the fuck do I know? But Tim Curry, legend. Like, is this you said he came for a different movie, and I wish they all came for whatever movie he was in because he was fucking awesome.
He's so good,
so much, so good, just incredible. So, I mean, overall, I enjoy it. I had fun. I don't know that I'll ever watch it again, but I'm glad I saw it, and I'm glad that it exists. And I'm definitely rethinking it as like as I guess I wish I would have seen it when I was younger. I bet I'd have like I bet I'd have a strong affinity for it had I seen it as a lad.
Yeah, I think Matt, your point was super accurate because I feel like an obsession in our friend group and family and stuff like that was Labyrinth, and this felt like Labyrinth before Labyrinth kind of thing, which is also funny because Alex Thompson did Labyrinth. He did Excalibur, Legend, and Labyrinth.
My guy.
It's almost as if we're on to something here. Yeah.
Is this the Alex Thompson round? Yeah. We need to switch our next movie to Labyrinth. I just wonder what was he going through? Is he's like, wait, I think I did this movie last year. It's like the kind of the same thing. Like goblin people and I don't know. I just kind of like last week when I said like, oh, I just wanted to watch Monty Python the whole time. Like I kind of felt like that here. I was like, oh, I wish I was just watching Labyrinth. Like this is like fine. And I'm glad that we watched it because if nothing else, I can finally say I've seen Mia Sara in something else. I haven't seen her in much, and it was fun to see Tim Curry. You guys probably saw in the trivia, but I guess Entertainment Weekly gave him or ranked his performance as the best performance in a bad movie, like of all time or whatever. And it's like I could totally see that. Yeah, that'd be a great round. Yeah, that'd be a really good round. Like, what are good performances in bad movies? This would definitely be up there. Yeah, you have to Tim Curry.
Okay, cool. For a second, I thought you said Tom Cruise, and I'm like, wait, hold on. like,
hold on.
It's fine if I'm like on my island alone, hating on Tom Cruise over here, but like, it would have surprised me.
I don't know. I mean, Tom, he was okay, I guess, but it was interesting.
He was trying. He was doing something.
Oh, he was definitely trying. Yeah, because this was like I think one of his first like I'm the protagonist. I'm the dude.
Yeah.
But again, like I was talking to my partner about this while watching it, and it's a dumb statement to make, but this to me is a great example of if you want to know what a good actor can do, watch this, because after this movie, Tom Cruise does Top Gun. That's his next movie. Like he left this set and went and did Top Gun, which is just crazy because in my mind, like, oh, you're like Jungle Boy, like Atreyu soft, you know what I mean? Like kind of Atreyu-ish, like, just Link on this mission kind of thing. And again, in my mind, just kind of this like Tarzan, one with the nature thing. And then he goes Top Gun. I was like, oh, I would never have imagined these were back to back.
Speaking of a legacy sequel, I know Tim Curry is not in a place where he could do this performance again, but I would love a legacy sequel of this movie. I would love Tom Cruise to come back as Jack. Find darkness floating in the abyss somewhere.
Because he's still alive. That was quite the teaser they left at the end.
I mean, like get Dave Grohl to come.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Have him do that. His Tenacious D Devil. That'd be perfect.
That would be incredible.
There's just so much like about other movies here that blows my mind. Ridley Scott did Alien and then Blade Runner and then this, like that was his
bananas.
Run, right? It's insane.
I didn't look that up. I was like, okay, so like maybe this was one of his first movies, like his first big budget thing, and they saw the visions, like, oh, cool, he can like create a world. Let's give him Blade Runner. Like that's bananas to me that it went the other way around.
Right.
I wish I could watch you, Tyler, watch this movie, like not reading it as a kid's movie and just see you watching it with a frown on your face.
I mean, I was just kind of like, I just kind of don't get it. There's stuff I like. There's definitely stuff I like, but I was kind of like, all right, this is very strange to me. But
thanks, Ben, for making me watch this. Yeah.
I always appreciate every nomination.
I mean, I guess I'm on a track record with you. We just did both West Side Stories and now this. And hopefully the next one I pick will be good.
Oh, yeah. What are you doing to me?
I know. I'm putting you through homework.
You also introduced me to Animal Kingdom, though, so all is forgiven.
That's true. All right. Appreciate that. I mean, just looking at that, because I was curious as well. I thought this was like pre-Alien. I thought this was one of the first things, but then to see that this was like followed up Alien and then Blade Runner. But it also made sense to me as to why these actors signed on. Because if Ridley Scott had just done Blade Runner and he's like, hey, I want you to come be in this like fantasy movie, like, hell yeah, I'll do whatever you want, man. Like, great. I would love to do that. Like, Alien, one of the best, sci-fi movies of all time. Same with Blade Runner. Sign me up. And then it's just kind of a bummer that this is like the movie they ended up in. I feel like Tom Cruise gave up some role to star in this. I forget what it was. I'm sure it all worked out because then he got Top Gun, but yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. I think your point, Tyler, about the physical sets was just awesome. I mean, there's a scene where, towards the end, kind of running through, like, it's like the Devil's Castle or something, but it looks like almost the pillars look like oversized pawns or chess pieces or something, but they all look practical, and they're just like, it's amazing. Some of those shots,
it's insane.
This is so cool. Like, maybe some of them are mats in the back, but like this, I love the shot. Yeah, the coloring of it all. The sets were a sight to behold for sure. I thought they were great. The other thing I want to say about this is, I guess Tom Cruise wouldn't talk about this movie for a long time because he insists the director's cut is better. And there's apparently a 2.5 hour long director's cut.
Okay. Hashtag release the Scott cut.
Sure there is.
Like, let's see it. It apparently dives more into the humans and their story. Like that, whatever swamp thing that he ends up like chopping the head off of, like there's a bigger scene there. Something about like the sins or whatever, so it could, I don't know. I'm curious what it would be like to see another hour. We watched Zack Snyder's 6-hour movie. It's like, sometimes when you give people more time, it's a better story, but I also felt tapped out after an hour and a half. I was like, all right, this was good. This was a perfect runtime. But yeah, it was something like 2:38 or something.
So apparently Ridley Scott admits that comments made by some it says pot smoking attendees of a screening convinced him to cut it down from the 2.5 hours to the 1 hour 38. Which,
nice.
Thank the Lord for those potheads. Although I do kind of want I mean, I
feel like I have to see it now.
I'd love to.
Yeah, it's like I want to. Matt and I are banging the drum for sub 2 hour movies over here, but like,
give it to me on DVD.
There's more of this madness. Yeah, let's
give me the option. Give me the option on a bonus material on a DVD. Don't give it to me in the theater.
Exactly. Yeah, I just want to watch it at home. So yeah, I'm curious about that. I think it'd be an interesting thing to watch. But talking about interesting things to watch, I think it's time to get into our elevator pitch here. I'm curious, you guys, if you had to convince someone to watch this and you were able to pull up one scene on your phone to show them, like, what's Legend about? Like, I got the perfect scene for you. Watch this. If you like it, you should probably watch the whole thing. What scene would you guys pick? Tyler, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
So admitting that I'm like, my scenario here is very contrived. I'm envisioning a moment where I'm on an elevator with someone that I know. Let's say I'm on the elevator with you, Ben, and it's just the two of us. And I'm like, dude, I watched Legend the other day. You're like, oh, what's that all about? And I'm like, I got just the scene for you. And I would show when Lily is her name, right?
Uh-huh.
Mia Sarah's character, when she transforms into Dark Lily. Because be like, hey, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah. Do you like Sloane? Well, guess what, buddy? Just the scene for you. And plus, Tim Curry's in it as the devil, acting like a weirdo, and it's fucking awesome. It's kind of a red herring or like a MacGuffin, because it's not that scene doesn't match the rest of the movie necessarily. I mean, I suppose tonally it does, but I think you would think you were for something wildly different than you got. That's a visually pleasing moment. Let's just say, if you're of a certain persuasion.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's a wonderful pick.
But that's probably where I would go. Also, admitting that's the only scene I can remember in this moment. I thought I didn't write anything down. I was like, oh, I had a different scene in my head, but I don't remember what it was. So.
Well, I would say that mine. Okay, first of all, as I alluded to, this movie would have been an obsession earlier on in my life, partially because it's full of just weird, bonkers moments that, like, as Tyler likes to use, it's a dartboard for elevator pitch moments for me. So like, there's a lot that fit my criteria.
That's true. I didn't pick one this time for you. I couldn't pin one.
Yeah, it's like, it could be any, like, just pause the movie and this is the scene. I'm going to mention one, but I do have an honorable mention. The one that I'll give my honorable mention after Ben gives his. But the one that like really struck me is more of like the climax of the movie, but it's the most Tom Cruise moment in the movie for me, and it's when spoiler alert, Lily strikes the chain and frees the unicorn, and he's like up hiding, like watching from some nook, and then he just screams darkness. And then it like plays like some, like, I keep using the word Zelda adjacent, like it's not the Zelda theme, but it kicks in like the Zelda theme, and then he has like this boss fight with darkness, which was just incredible for me to see on a screen, having not seen like any form of adaptation of Zelda. And I thought it was actually like really well done, like pretty well choreographed given the time. And so I was just like stoked watching it. But yeah, like the way he screamed that like made me forget and forgive a lot of his really weird childlike line deliveries throughout the movie. But that's got to be my scene. I would show it to them. I'd be like, "Yep, this is the climax of the movie. Check it out."
I dig it. I like it a lot.
I
mean, Tyler, I had the same scene as you. That was like,
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, that was the most interesting scene to me as well, as like watching that transformation. I thought that was pretty rad. But
I will say, like, it's not just the look either. Like, she acts it. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually a pretty decent performance by her too. So I think that's interesting. I don't want to just be pigeonholed into the guy that just like hot chicks, you know, but I did respect her performance as well in more ways than one.
The other, I guess the other one I'll pick is there is a scene, I forget if it was Brown Tom or, you know, which one it was, but there was trying to defend the unicorn, and the two goblins are attacking him, and he's like doing all these like crazy moves and stuff like that, and, you know, like throwing everything back at them. And then suddenly out of nowhere just takes an arrow to the forehead and just like dies. And I was like, wait, what? Like, it really threw me off. It's like, did he actually die? Like, he says something and then he just like falls back. I was like, is he dead? Like, did I just watch, like, I thought this was a kid's movie, you know, and then this happens. We find out later, I mean, it hit whatever it hit, like his drink or something that was up there in his hat, but it was just like, for, I don't know, a solid 5 minutes or so, I was like, I think I just saw like a goblin take an arrow to the forehead. And then we just moved on. Like, we just like kept going.
Life goes on, dude.
Yeah. So maybe I would show that to somebody without them knowing that he actually lives, you know, it's like, we're
this is crazy,
taking arrows to the forehead. So watch this movie. That might be it, Bob.
I love that.
Yeah.
And those little dudes are so funny. Like, they're so weird.
I did want to.
They're like a combination of all of the Fellowship, like all of the non-human Fellowship, like Gimli and Merry and Pippin, and, you know, like
it's true.
I did hate Gump. I found myself hating Gump as I watched the movie.
Yeah, I could see that.
A couple of honorable mentions I wanted to give, both involving darkness. Tim Curry is. I really loved the opening sequence where he's got like the green eyes and like the dark
green nails too.
Yeah. Like what those shots of that were just like crazy cool. And it's scary. It was super awesome. I also loved the line delivery between Lily and Darkness when she like proposes the idea of like, I want to be the one who kills the unicorn. He's just like so aroused.
He's so stoked. He's like, I did it. I found her.
Well, that was easy.
No one true love.
I do just want to shout out the guy who played Brown Tom. His name is Cork Hubert. And the guy that played Pox, named Peter O'Farrell. Both of their IMDb pictures are of their characters from this movie. Like, that is
great job, Cork.
It's just like, it doesn't get better than this. I'm just going to leave Brown Tom up there as my professional picture. You want to hire Brown Tom?
Isn't it crazy though? So obviously, like Labyrinth has a cult following for completely different reasons and totally valid reasons. Like, I love the Labyrinth. I am shocked that we don't see more merchandise from this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you said that early on that like, oh, if you and Graydon had watched this, like you guys would have been talking about it, like it would have been down the halls of Joel P. Jensen. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like people would have been talking about Legend.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's such a crazy movie, like whatever. And it became Labyrinth because, you know, that's the bigger movie. But Legend, yeah, I think it could have had a cult following. And maybe it does that we just don't know about. But like,
yeah,
this was more
Let's
like
go
I
in the
talked about at
comment.
the beginning. If I was just looking at Tom Cruise's IMDb, you mentioned Legends as your theme. I was like, well, he has a movie called Legend. I don't have no idea what it's about. I've never even heard of it before. So it felt like it's like a cult movie if it really is. But yeah, it feels like there should be more love for this out there just on a nostalgia cult aspect. But
Yeah.
you know, oh, go for it. You say.
Oh, I'm just pontificating over here.
All
Nothing
right.
important.
Cool.
I'm just like wondering if it was up against, like, what was it up against in the box office? Like, what overshadowed it? Did it not play in the theaters for very long? Did it not run on cable? Like, what I'm just trying to think of all the different reasons that a movie becomes a part of the pop culture, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and why one doesn't when they're
I could see
ostensibly equals.
I wonder if the personification and I wonder if the depiction of a Satan-like character had something to do with
Yeah, that's probable.
With American audiences.
Let's see here. So I pulled up April of 1986 when it came out. Number 1 grossing movie, The Money Pit. Number 2 is Police Academy 3, Back in Training.
Hell yeah.
Then we have Out of Africa, then Gung Ho, which is quite the movie. The Color Purple, and then Legend comes in at 7th place, just above Pretty in Pink, which had been out for 2 months at that point.
Oh, okay.
And they get a Sleeping Beauty re-release, so that probably cut into their budget too, cut into their money. Yeah, it's interesting. Man, what a time.
Thanks, Tom Hanks.
At the theaters here. The Care Bears movie number 2, Nightmare on Elm Street 2. You know, people complain about sequels and shit now, but we've been doing this forever. This isn't a thing in the 2000s. Like Police Academy 3 was the number 2 rate, like grossing movie in 1986. Like we've just been running it back forever. That's how it goes. So, okay, yeah, let's do our reverse Rushmore Mountain. I feel like there's quite a few topics that this could fall under. I'm curious if you guys had to build a Rushmore category around Legend, what it would be.
These are OR scrubs.
Oh, are they?
I'm just going to start with mine real quick. I hope I don't take either of yours. But I think this is a good Tim Curry Rushmore. I think it'd be an interesting one to have him on there. I know we started this as a way to go through it quicker and easier, but I'm just going to build it out. Got to do Fern Gully. You know, he's in there. Same year as Legend was Clue, which he's fantastic in. And then I think you have to do Rocky Horror Picture Show. Might be controversial to leave off it, but I would take Fern Gully over it in my Rushmore. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do Tim Curry because like he has limited time. What is he, like maybe 15 minutes on screen? Like not a ton of time.
Not nearly enough. That's for sure.
Not enough.
He owns the movie with that 50.
Yeah. He does the best. So that's what I do. Just a Tim Curry one. I hope I didn't take either of yours, but that's what I'm gonna do for my reverse Rushmore. Matt, what is your reverse Rushmore for Legend?
So mine's down the same avenue, and I'm only sticking with mine because it is a little bit different than yours.
Okay.
It does involve Mr. Curry.
Cool.
But I got a little more specific, and this is Tim Curry in costume Rushmore.
Okay.
Which does include it.
Yeah.
It includes Rocky Horror Picture Show, obviously this movie. And he doesn't have like any other, at least that I could find, outlandish costumes. So I'm going to do one of my favorite things is pulling a Muppet movie, Muppet Treasure Island as Long John Silver.
Long John. Yeah, I like it. Looking at his IMDb, I did not realize how much voice work he does. He does crazy. So much. Like there's so many TV shows, like, and I don't think I really realized he was Nigel Thornberry at all, but he does so much voice work. It's nuts, but that's a great Rushmore as well.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, most of what's so cool about his performance here is Darkness is the voice performance and the the bellowing evil he's able to,
Yeah.
like it's pretty cool. That guy rules. So mine is super, like I bet you guys guess what I would say, or when I say it, you won't be surprised. But ring movies, movies with important rings.
Nice.
And I mean, I could easily fill it out with all 3 Lord of the Rings movies, and then this one. Frankly, those are the only ones I could think of. But I've done it, and I will continue to do it. And like I feel like a parody of myself at this point. It's like, if anyone's listened to the show for any length of time and doesn't know what like my general 10 favorite movies are, like you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I just couldn't help but think it. It's like, oh, it's a ring, some sort of power. There's even he swims to get out of the river like Smeagol does. A lot of parallels there. So maybe it's diving into a river for a ring. That's what we'll do.
Okay.
Diving into a river chasing a ring. I have no idea if there's more than 2 movies out there, but
let us know. Tell us in the comments.
Yeah.
There's got to be something out there. I like that a lot. Well, guys, that was legend. We did it.
It sure was.
That was a legendary episode.
Yeah.
We got there, Matt. We did it.
I'm so excited for Napoleon coming out.
Oh yeah.
Like Ridley Scott's becoming like one of my most I don't know what the word is, interesting directors to me, because he really is like pretty hit or miss, really want to watch The Last Duel again. We went and saw that during the pandemic together. And I think maybe I didn't quite, I don't know. I'd like to give it another shot, but it's just like, he's got some of my all-time favorites. I love Blade Runner to death.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking love that movie. And like, I was watching Gladiator last night with my family, and he's got some really great stuff. And then he's got this, and some other. He's an interesting, really interesting director. And when he nails it, he nails it. And when he doesn't, he doesn't. And I guess you got to appreciate the swings. But it makes me really interested to see Napoleon and kind of where he kind of started and where he's gone and the different things he's done. I don't know.
I think he'd be a real interesting. I mean, so many directors would, but I do think he'd be an interesting person to be around for Unsung Gems, because I do think he has some. I mean, I'll say like probably my favorite Russell Crowe performance is American Gangster. And that's Ridley Scott. I forget he did that. He just so many movies. Too. Exactly. Like between that and LA Confidential, those are my 2 Russell Crowe ones. And the fact that he's on there, but Black Hawk Down, G.I. Jane, like he's got a lot of great stuff, and obviously like Thelma and Louise. So many good movies. Yeah. Seeing the fact that he put out Last Duel and House of Gucci in the same year, 2021, was just like, that's quite the move. But yeah, Napoleon's going to be great. And I'm actually also, I know it's a little ways out, but talk about legacy sequels. He's doing Gladiator 2, which is going to be interesting to say the least. The supposed cast on IMDb is intense. But yeah, that was fun. That was a good talk. One fun fact.
Matchstick then?
Yeah, right.
Like, maybe he's my favorite director, I guess.
Apologies to Ridley.
That's crazy.
No.
I found the one movie I don't like, I guess.
But I don't know. Like he did the Robin Hood with Russell Crowe, like it's just kind of all over the place. But the one last fun fact I want to share that has nothing to do with this movie, but I got caught up on Box Office Mojo, and I went back 1 month to March of 1986, and the 11th highest grossing movie of March of 1986 was the original Back to the Future, which came out in July of 1985. That movie was in theaters for like 8 months, 9 months. That's crazy.
Well, that kind of answers the question. Like, there's no way this movie could have had any sort of following with Back to the Future out. Like, the movie's a juggernaut. It's an absolute legend. See what I did? And so, I mean, it kind of makes sense that a movie like this might get overshadowed, because it's Back to the Future. It has its audience.
Yeah.
In that way. That's crazy.
I'm on a mission to find the fans of this movie. They've got to be somewhere. There's got to be a website with some cool t-shirts. You know,
seriously, it's like that how-to with John Wilson when he goes to those Avatar guys. Like, there's got to be one for these Legend fans that are out there. But then May of '86, #1 release movie, Top Gun, and Legend stayed strong at #9. I feel like that Tom Cruise, I think they kind of benefited from that a little bit. So now I'm just going to get lost in the box office mojo now. This is
That's awesome.
Crazy. But anyways, thanks you guys. That was a fun chat. Thanks everyone for joining us and listening to us. Let us know what you think about Legend. We are everywhere at 3 Films Pod, soon to be everywhere at Unsung_Gems. So you can follow us there too. Those exist. We're just like keeping them in the secret, like keeping them in the dark for now, but they'll be out there. So thanks for your support, and we will see you next week for the 7th Seal. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Come up to the lab and see what's on the slab. I see you shiver with anticipation.